Hello, everybody. It's Grizzly from Lexington, Kentucky, coast to coast, around the world. I have a special guest on stage today, Bobby Dizzle. You may have heard his podcast. Boy, do we have something in tow for you. You better grab a drink, sit back and relax. He's very well knowledgeable in this field that we're going to talk about. And it's going to be interesting to hear his theories. So, how are you doing, Mr. Dizzle?
Oh, pretty good. I had the video up on another tab, and I was freaking out for a second. I'm like, why am I hearing this horrible echo? It was intense. I was like, what is happening right now?
So, introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourself.
Hey, my name is Bob Dahl. I'm a host of the Bobby Dizzle podcast. I'm up and coming. I say well known is a very good prediction of maybe the 10 years in the future. But right now I'm putting together a series for 6 months to a year of really good stories. A lot of them paranormal, a lot of them comedy based. Just really good stories from people, stuff that interests me. Basically, it's a podcast that I would listen to. And if you want to check me out, the website is my title here, bobbydizzle.com. Just got an Instagram.
Everybody, please check it out. Give him some love. Support him.
I've got about 4 months worth of episodes right now, so we're ready to kick off very soon.
That's great. And that's one thing that I'm a firm believer in is that we support each other in this field and back each other. And I call that love because we all need it, especially starting out or doing a podcast. So, I'm there for you. So
nobody thinks it's this hard. What's rough?
Yeah, right.
It is tedious.
I wish I had an assistant.
It's kind of therapy for me.
Yeah, thank God I have nothing else to do in life right now besides the booking, the marketing, the ads, the uploads, and scheduling. And I mean, it sometimes gets a handful,
Mm-hmm. Sure can.
It really does. But how'd you get involved in the paranormal?
Oh, it was just a lifelong interest. I would say I've always been kind of obsessed with the kind of pseudoscience, you would say, not pseudoscience, but paranormal. And when I was in middle school, I bought a book. I think it was the popular book, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Oh yeah.
And it had the hook, the kids making out on the side of the road, and the killer had a hook. It had that story in it. It had the babysitter, the calls coming from inside the house, get out of the house.
Yeah.
It had Bigfoot in it. It had Taily Po. And I just remember with the Bigfoot story, I became obsessed with it. And one time, I'm from North Alabama, up in the hills, the northeast corner, south, the last part of the Appalachians. And there's a holler out there. It's still there to this day. Me and my mama used to take a walk in this holler after Sunday dinner, wear off our pinto beans and cornbread. and she still lives there to this day. I was just there this weekend. And this one particular part, we were walking, and I just read that book. You know how you watch a movie and you can't go to sleep or turn the lights off? It freaks you out.
Right.
Being in the woods, I've been reading those books all week. And especially, have you ever heard the Taily Po one?
No.
About the monster, and he attacks the guy in the bed, and he chops its tail off with a hatchet, and it comes in the middle of the night. I want my Taily Po. It's weird as shit. But keep in mind, I'm 10 years old. And so I think both of those are about a Sasquatch. I think Taily Po, it turns out it's just like a little cat monster thing. If you read it now. But we got to hearing something in the woods that sounded just like somebody 20 yards away walking through the bushes. And it kept getting louder, and it turned into something off Stephen King's Langoliers. You ever seen the Langoliers?
Yes.
In the Langoliers, there's like a sound that you can hear in the background. The whole movie just kind of gets louder. It was like that mixed with brush. And I'll never forget it. And I'm just joking with my mama. Probably Bigfoot. And sure as shit, 10 minutes into this, about 100 to 200 deer come out of the woods in a big lump. And I have no idea where they come from. I've told the gentleman commenting on this about that. But Like ever since then, the Bigfoot thing has been solidified in my mind. Just how it seems like, man, what if it would have been a Bigfoot? Nobody would believe this. We saw 300 deer at once for no reason. And what was chasing the deer? I've never been on.
Right.
No, I've
Right.
explained this story 100 times. But what was chasing the deer when they were running 100 deep? But yeah, it was just that. I always like documentaries. I like taps. To the lesser extent, Zach Bagan. Anything I can get a hold of. As I get older and start listening to witnesses that actually in real life, like people like me and you that live on the farm in the country, I don't like those as much because I think some of them are kind of crap. But the subject matter still gets me. I'll watch a good horror movie, especially a thriller or something with demons.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
demons are real. Those freak me out worse than anything.
Yeah, they are.
Paranormal Activity scared the bejesus out of me. I couldn't drive home. Wouldn't let my friend leave my house.
Well, my daughter, she's 18 plus years old, and she can't watch none of those shows with me or horror movies. So, but she believes, she listens in on the podcast when I'm live. What's really interesting in this field is the first thing I say is I'm not an expert. I don't believe there's an expert out there. And I'm not discrediting anybody. I'm not discrediting anybody's degrees. But, you know, you and I have heard so many stories from witnesses in different ways from this is a blood and, flesh and blood creature only. Well, then how do you explain where the footprints end up in the middle of the field and then he's disappear, or walks around the tree and it disappears? I mean, it's just hard to wrap your head around it sometimes. And then you got the ones that think that they see them come off spaceships, or they see them before or after UFOs, before and after orbs. So, do we actually know the truth? No, we don't. We speculate. We theorize. Go ahead.
Have you had any guests on? I know you've had a couple hundred episodes. I was kind of just scanning through. Have you had any guests on that claim to see the Bigfoot come out of the portal?
One.
And what did they describe the portal to look like?
I actually saw the picture of the portal, and he was live on my show. And this has been months ago, and I got really upset because he took a phone call right as we started. And I don't get upset that easy, but I got fired up because to me that's disrespect. And you can hear the conversation. Yes, that's me. Yes, I do have the photograph with the portal, and his picture had creatures coming out of it. And it was one of those things that was too real, too good to be real. But there was no way for me to debunk it. And the way I look at it, when people ask me, Grizzly, is this photograph and video real? First thing I say is, well, number one, I wasn't there. And two, I didn't take it. And here's why. You and I could be out in the woods, and you and I can see something in a bush, in the middle of a bush. We can see it. It can be Dogman. Let's just use Dogman. And you pull up your camera and take a picture of it. Well, the way that sunlight is, it's not going to show the features besides the dark circle. So, and we see a lot of those pictures. We see a lot of blobs. So I don't crack on anybody. I don't disgrace anybody with their evidence because they believe it's true. I wasn't there. I didn't take the photograph. In my groups, I have 3, and one of them I'll explain to you if you don't know about it. It's made just for people like you. Is that no bullying, no smart comments, no negative comments, no emojis, anything, period, at all. I mean, we're 110% strict and force on that. And on my team, I have state police, retired police, paramedics, psychics, mediums, and a couple civilians. Yep. So And I just got a text from a paranormal preacher or priest that I'm trying to bring on the team. So I have a good validity of people that can help out. Now, on the last show, my psychic was drastically trying to get a hold of me, and I thought it was people calling in on the show phone. Now I'm like, I'm not taking live calls right now, people, because I didn't look at the name. And then she messaged me. She's like, hey, I need to talk to you about your podcast. And I'm like, whoa, something's up. And I told my guest, hold on, we got to bring her on. Well, unfortunately, we couldn't get a hold of her, so we need to figure that out later. But, you know, I don't like people that force people to think what they believe is real or what they think. We're not the SS. You know, to be in my group, you must believe in this, this, and this. Well, how can you believe in this, this, and this if you're taking testimony or encounters for people that says the opposite? And people from around the country that don't know each other are telling the same stories. So, you know, what is real and what is not real? I don't know. Do you?
Nope. I know there's consistencies. I can't tell you if it's authentic or not.
That is correct.
I've noticed that. That's kind of it's. I've had the awfulest chills up my spine at the consistencies that we've heard. I'm like, there ain't no way that guy just said the exact same thing.
That's right.
One of the wildest things that happened in that regard is, there's the tendency to say that these creatures, the Sasquatch, if you will, tame wild animals, work in collusion with wild animals. Crows being one, and the other one being coyotes.
Right.
And everybody, the ones I've interviewed personally have said that, and the one that I interviewed sort of third party, not interviewed, but I stood in as a third party moderator, said the same thing as well. The only difference is 30% of those people said that they didn't. The one they knew about didn't have a problem with cameras. The rest totally hate cameras.
And I hear a lot of that. I hear a lot of cameras malfunctioning. I hear the batteries draining. Mm-hmm. I hear the trail cameras taking, blurry photographs. I have people tell me that Sasquatch can see the IR, so they hide them in bushes and they get a picture of it walking by the camera, and somehow it comes back and picks the camera out of the bush and looks at it, and you see an eyeball. Mm-hmm. And then it takes them 2 days to find the camera because it's tossed 40 or 50 yards. And I had some people that had their trail cameras chewed on, like a dog on a chew toy, left teeth marks and stuff. So, every encounter is different and special. So, I'm not going to say, your encounter is wrong because this is what I know. It's impossible to say that.
Have any of them talked about the white fingerprints?
Yes.
That's creepy. That's almost like something getting hit by lightning. It's like the same effect. I saw one where a brand new 2020 dime that was, how they say shiny as a new dime. It was shiny as a new dime. And by the end of the day, it was black as coal.
Really?
And yeah, this was last week.
What happened?
We don't know. It was we don't know. I wasn't there. I was I think it's the same effect. This is, like I say, strictly a hypothesis or a theory, whichever one's the least. Wild Trees will have to correct me there. But strictly my thoughts is whatever the effect is that causes the white fingerprints is the same one that caused that dime to tarnish. Like maybe they still had some of that residual primordial charge or whatever it is from the fifth dimension. Maybe it touched it.
It actually could be. People talk about interdimensions.
I think it has to be that.
I'm gonna bring up the show. Some people like it, some people don't. And hypothesis.
Yeah.
Somebody said Wild Trees, but
he's one of my friends. I'm on his podcast a lot. I was on his last night. He's a cool cat. You want to get him on one day if you can.
Hi, Grizzly. Oh, anybody you recommend, I'll take. Like I told the last gentleman, that was live with me, I hand-picked you. I did my own research and come up with my own conclusions on where you stand. And you're not all over the board, and you're not fixed in one position.
Nope.
And that's one of the reasons why I picked you to come on the show, because of that.
Very optimistically skeptical.
Yep. And that's a good thing. But I'm going to say this. I'm going to say follow the money right now. We'll talk about that later. But the show I'm talking about is Paranormal Caught on Camera. Now, some of that stuff is so far out there, I have no clue. Now, the one that really impressed me was the guy that almost wrecked his car to film the pterodactyl that was flying.
That's on Travel Channel, isn't it?
Yes.
I see it every night when I'm going to bed. It's always some dog knocking something over.
Yeah, I'm like, and it's flying, and it's real. And it came directly off his cell phone. No Photoshop, no nothing. And, and people say, well, it came out of one dimension and it's going into another dimension. It just flew into ours, and, people see dinosaurs in South America, in Africa that runs across the road. We're talking baby dinosaurs. We're not talking like, Tyrannosaurus Rex or anything. But there's so much out there that's unexplained. Where do you draw the line? Where do you say this is not real? Because we were taught growing up what does exist and what does not exist. What we do see, we shouldn't see. What we heard, we couldn't hear. But then you got things washing up on beaches like monsters that nobody knows what the hell they are, but people are freaking out and poking it with sticks, taking pictures. Then the city government or the county government comes with a backhoe, digs a hole in the beach and buries it. I'm like, what in the hell's going on? What's wrong with you people? Where's the flatbed truck and the crane? Pick it up, take it to the lab.
My favorite one of those is the Montauk that washed up. Yeah. It was clearly like a dog or something. But on first inspection, I was like, that thing got a beak.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Then in the 80s, there was that plesiosaur. Turned out to be a whale.
Right.
But all through my childhood, I thought that somebody found a plesiosaur in like Asia or something. Turns out it's just the way whales rot. I was disappointed.
It's amazing. Does Bigfoot exist? Absolutely. There's too much video, too much pictures, too much DNA evidence, too much evidence, and people are like, Grizzly, what do you mean? And okay, ladies and gentlemen, I know little Johnny's in the middle of the woods at night, an ape suit drunker than hell, causing havoc. That happens. I feel sorry for you in some parts of the country because you're going to get shot. So people are pranksters. We all know that. And some of the pictures that I have seen, I can't explain. Have you seen any pictures that you could explain?
Picture-wise, had a little bit of an epiphany when we were talking to some guys about their version of cameras and electronics and the PIRs and the IRs. I realized just watching college football the other day, the Patterson-Gimlin footage was shot on a spring-loaded camcorder. No electronics. I was like, why am I just now, 20 years into this, why is that just hitting me? I guess I never thought of it before. But as far as pictures go, the fact that I haven't seen any tells me more about, it's either option A, they don't exist, option B, they're interdimensional. Not the great ape thing is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. There's no way there's a hidden monkey. I just can't. I mean, it can be, but I don't think it can, unless there's a cave system we don't know about.
Yeah. And there are caves throughout the country that we know exist that we don't know where they go to. Don't get me wrong, but I agree with your statement on that.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know,
the cave systems of America intertwine, almost overlay perfectly with the all the popular Bigfoot sightings too.
that's what one of the guests were telling me on the show. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
That was
And
very
the
interesting.
and the missing persons, the missing 411, they go
That's
along with
what
that
he
too.
said as well. And we're getting ready to talk about that too. So that really amazed me. You know, I've actually learned quite a bit interviewing people
Mm-hmm.
and speaking with people, looking at their evidence, you know, and they always appreciate me because I don't make fun of them. We don't do it in my groups. You know,
Mm-mm.
what you have is what you have. If you don't like it, don't believe in it, you think it's wrong, just scroll on.
Yeah, my little podcast code of ethics is if you're on my show for that hour and a half, whatever you say is 100% the gospel truth.
That's right.
Whether you're lying to my face, I'm going to sit here and listen like a little kid. I
I
mean,
mean,
that's in your heart if you're lying to me at that point. I mean, I'll make my own judgments later, maybe I pick it apart, but for that moment, it's 100%. It's your choice.
and that's the way we have to be. And scientists know that these monsters exist. The government knows these monsters exist. For an example, one of the last episodes on Expedition Bigfoot, they heard a vehicle, and it was a truck, and it was an older guy, and they ran up to him, and he was like, "What are y'all doing out here? You know, do you have permits?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're out here filming a documentary, and we're filming you, but we're going to blur your face." And you know, I kind of laughed because the truck he was driving was so old. The people that knew this guy is going to know who that truck's belonged to. You know what I'm saying?
Like an old International or something that everybody knows
Yeah,
who
yeah,
has the last remaining ones.
yeah. So he opened up his cell phone and he showed them pictures of his buddy that works in the forestry, pictures of Sasquatch nest on the ground and up in trees. And they were ooh and on and all this other stuff and whatever else. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the government enacted eminent domain and confiscated up to 3,000 acres, put a fence up 10 to 12 foot tall with barbed wire. Other way, I can't do it on the camera. Keep people out.
It's
Not keep,
always this.
yeah. Keep people out, not keep people in. And now it's a sanctuary. So what happened there? And
I
earlier,
think if it ever got proved 100% that they would probably lock down the Pacific Northwest.
do you imagine what that would do to the lumber company?
You think a woodpecker would shut down a logging site? Think of a endangered great ape.
Wild Tree says thanks, Bobby. And I think it was a basking shark. And
He's talking about the plesiosaur.
Yeah, definitely interdimensional. And here's Bo. If we don't even ask follow-up questions aren't possible, guilty of spreading misinformation. There's too much of that already. Yeah, I do believe there's too much misinformation out there. But I mean, look at the spotted owl when the lumber company crossed that in the Midwest. Oh my God! Everybody freaked out. The lumber company shut down. They lost millions of dollars.
Around here, it's the snail darter.
Yeah, they had to sanction so many acres, you know, that they could not touch. So, you know, and follow the money with missing people. Look at Appalachian Trail. People go missing on there.
I don't necessarily think that Sasquatch. I know this may not be relevant to that on the Appalachian Trail and the missing people. I don't necessarily think that the Sasquatch themselves are the one doing the snatching. But if you've got these hypothetical portals popping up, and any being, if it's commonly used technology in that realm, any being from a dog man to those little people to anything like the Thunderbird, just throwing something out there can come through. Who says they're not just coming through and snatching and going back? Even the little grays. I mean,
that is correct. But when you're in a group of joggers and there's a woman 15, 20 feet ahead of you, and she turns the corner and you turn the corner and all of a sudden she's gone, how do you explain that? How do you explain Yosemite and Yellowstone? People go missing. Then you look at the Alaska Triangle a couple years ago, it was 60,000 plus. I have no idea what it's up to now. A gentleman, debated with me. I don't argue. I'll have a gentle, manly debate with somebody. And he was like, well, there's suicide. There's people that get lost. People fall through the ice. So I cut the pie up and gave him percentages each time. We could not get below 55 or 50%. It's unexplainable what happens to them. I don't know. Portals. Look at the two hunters. The one guy has been hunting all his life in the same woods. Said, I'm going to sit right here on this tree, 50 yards up there, right there, and show the gentleman. And his buddy said, I'm going to go down 100 yards, and I'm going to sit there. And then later on that day, he didn't hear anything. He got on the radio and called him, didn't get a response. So he got up and walked down there, and his buddy wasn't sitting there. And they called out the cavalry, the helicopters, the rescuers, the searchers, and didn't find a trace. I mean, how do you explain that?
That lost in the woods. That lost in the woods is a different animal. That's I've been lost a little bit before and just had to follow cars. So who knows what actually happened to him?
Yeah. And it's strange. There's so much happening out there that we do not know, that we told that cannot happen, cannot exist, but it does. And that can go to Bigfoot, that can go to Dogman, that can go to the Trows. What's those little boogers in south of Kentucky? What are they called? Oh, shoot. But what are they called down there in Kentucky?
South Kentucky?
Yeah, little people.
I'm not sure.
Goblins.
I didn't know there was a South Kentucky cryptid.
Yep, goblins.
Other than Kentucky football fans, which is pretty rare.
Well, the Oxshow also have in the Appalachian Trail is the Feral Man. I don't know if you heard about that one.
Yeah, that creeps me out because it happens in the Smokies, and we go there a lot. Remember the story about the kid that got snatched?
Yeah.
They found his shoe.
Yeah. And they're disfigured like the movie The Hills Have Eyes.
Mm-hmm. Who knows what kind of inbreeding went on with those, though? If they exist, I bet they're inbred 6 ways to Sunday.
Probably.
Living in one holler for 100 years.
Probably.
Wouldn't shock me. That goes on for days.
I mean, there's some people around the world that don't even know about electricity and running water that still live in their tribe ways. So, I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yep. He said the Kentucky Goblins. That was right. Thank you, Bo. Bo's my fact checker, and he always has my 6 when I forget the names of stuff.
I think that I sent him a message whenever I was cold calling everybody. That name looks familiar.
Yeah, he's a pretty good guy. I had no qualms with him. He's really been supportive and everything else.
Probably kin to him.
So, but the question is, where do you draw a line? You cannot call somebody a liar because you don't know the truth. And yeah, I've seen some evidence that's been very questionable. But once again, I wasn't there. I didn't take the photograph. And, I see it all the time in group posts. I want to show a picture of the Sasquatch I took. Oh, great. Here comes another blob picture.
The blob squatch.
Yeah. And I'm like, give them a break. That's why people don't come forward because, you all say stupid stuff. And
I kind of just smile and move on for those.
Yeah. Just scroll. That's what I tell everybody in my group, scroll. My group's protected 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We really go through it with the fine-tooth comb. Hopefully nothing get past us. But in my groups, I have it where you can post anonymously in there to where you can post freely and not identify yourself. And a couple of weeks ago, a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago now, I couldn't sleep. And I thought about all the groups that were actually out there on Facebook and all the investigators and what people believed in and how people were treated for showing their evidence and so forth. And I thought, okay, what can I do differently to try to alter that to get people to come together? And I thought about it for another hour sitting on the couch. And it became 7:15. 7:15 come to 7:30. And it's like a light bulb went off. And I came up with a group. I'm trying to find it. I can't remember the name. Isn't that awful? It's called, I don't know if I sent it to you or not. It's called Share Your Evidence Podcast, EVPs, Footprints, Howls, and Growls.
I think you did. I think I'm a member of it.
So I'm a member of 905 groups.
Jesus.
Now they're not all paranormal. Okay. I own some other groups that are not related to paranormal groups. But, I want to see people's evidence. I want to see what people catch, footprint wise. I want them to share them with everybody. And I notice they only share them within the group, but then within the group they get made fun of. And that stops people like little Johnny coming forward and telling their encounters or stories. So once again, you can post it, being anonymously. You don't have to disclose yourself. It will show no name, just whatever you post. But I did it for people like you that interview people that may go out boots on the ground and investigate and to share what you captured. Because let me tell you something. Somebody put EVPs out there, I'm all over it. Somebody puts a howl and growl out there, I'm all over it. Somebody puts a questionable picture out there they caught, I'm looking at it.
So how many Sierra Sound guys have you had on here?
That I couldn't tell you. I think two.
Seems to be getting more popular.
Yeah, it is. And, I want people to share that. I have more people talking about chatter. What was that, chatter back in the 70s or?
Yeah, the Sierra Sounds.
Yeah.
Sounds like somebody trying to imitate Japanese speak, but not.
Yes, that's it. Right. Yeah. So I'm hearing more of that. And so, I want people to come forward and share that stuff and don't have to be worried about being crucified. And I did it for the members, investigators, admins, mods, whatever, to have a certain place to post whatever you want, to share whatever you want, because what somebody may do that you don't know about, you may pick up, put it in your toolbox. Did you realize there's a formula that you can tell by looking at a footprint how tall a Sasquatch is?
I know they that's not relevant. They picked out the Gigantopithecus height by their tooth, but I don't think they were Sasquatch. So no.
So Mr. David Parker came forward a couple of months ago on one of my shows.
He was on my show.
And he was like, Grizzly, it's every 2 inches inside of that footprint is 1 foot tall on a Bigfoot. And usually when I tell people that are investigators, they jump up right where they sit like you. They run over to the carry-o cabinet, and you hear that aluminum tape measure.
Okay, they're measuring their cast.
Yeah, they're measuring the cast. They're like, damn. Because
did David tell you about the running on their all fours?
Yes.
Made a weird footprint.
Yes.
That guy.
And I heard that's becoming more common. That they crawl along on their bellies like a spider.
So they're big as bison.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that is.
I think I'm gonna launch. I'm gonna launch his episode in about 4 weeks. I've got one just a little bit better.
I mean, that's spooky.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that only that he's saying that, but other people has come forward and said the same thing. I had one guy knew he was being watched, knew he was being followed, and he took his cell phone out of his pocket, and as he walked, he just snapped pictures. Snap, 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 snap. Didn't look at him till he got home. He was going through there, and he freaked out. Right in the little gully, not even 20 feet from him, was a Sasquatch that looked like a spider, was on all fours. He was humped down in that little cutout. Then behind him, there was one that was peeking behind the tree looking at him. And I have some investigators, when they walk back from their investigations or their expeditions, will take their camcorders and hold it backwards as they walk back to their vehicles. Because they're like, Grizzly, we catch them looking at us. They'll come around, look out on the trail, peep at us. So they got, evidence and documentary of that.
I wonder if the backwards camera thing, you know how they say when you go take a lie detector test, if you put a tack under your toe, it kind of messes up the test.
No, it doesn't.
Well, they're like, the concept though. I wonder if the reason that works and putting up game cameras doesn't work is if, they do the telepathic thing. I wonder if that doesn't, if you moving out trying to navigate, if you're trying to navigate the woods, in the dark sometimes and different terrain, if you're not distracted and not thinking about the camera, so they don't really notice that intent happening. When if you hang one up or have one on your chest like a state trooper, if that's the reason they don't get it there, but around your back they look at you because they're not really sensing it.
Right. And I also been told by a lot of investigators and researchers and expeditioners that they think Sasquatch or Bigfoot can see the IR on the cameras.
I think lots of things can.
So
I know a PIR doesn't shine IR until it trips a little circuit, but it still can sense the camera.
Right.
I think it's more than sensing the camera than the actual PIR, because it's not going off broadcasting until something triggers that camera. But
then you have to explain why you have pictures with nothing in it.
Mm-hmm.
Then why you have pictures of something that's blurry and hairy.
Oh, they know. They can sense something. It's funny. It's funny how it's so instantaneous a lot of the times.
It is. And not only that, how they can drain batteries on equipment. How they can interfere with that.
They made my laptop and router reboot last week from Minnesota. That was intense.
I don't even want to go there. Not till I get my priest on the team. I did one that was supposedly possessed with demonic spirits. And
hey, I'm Catholic. You can bring them on now. We'll talk.
Man, let me tell you something.
They'll worry you to death, won't they? Those priests.
It freaked me out. If you're watching, I didn't mention your name, but it freaked me out. And it got so bad. She was talking about how her boyfriend died in his sleep and they couldn't find a reason during the autopsy. Her aunt died in her sleep, couldn't find a reason. And then she was talking about how many times she tried to commit suicide, and how things were moving in her house and all this other stuff, and how she sees shadows and the Hat Man. And next thing you know, she gets booted off. Her cell phone was at 100%. It dies. So she gets on her other cell phone. It was 100%. And I'm like, I got to get a medium on here, or one of my psychics. And I got a hold of one. And luckily, when I call, they answer. And usually they know I'm on a live show. And this person got on there, and they were like, whoa, what is going on? I feel all this negativity that's just swirling around nonstop, and evilness. And I'm like, well, that's why I got you here. And we were telling her what steps to necessarily do to help her and so forth. And she got kicked off again. For the next week and a half, I had nothing but computer problems, board problems, mic problems, headphone problems, everything. I mean, it was just awful. And some people are like, oh, Grizzly, you can't say that it reached out and touched you. And well, I don't care what you said. It may be a coincidence, but I never have issues. I do podcasts back to back. Sometimes I do them all day long. And if I'm talking to you and all of a sudden, we flip upside down on my computer and my mouse is moving like somebody's shutting and opening programs, that's not natural. That is not.
It's common. I'll tell you that.
I believe I saw a small one spider crawl. I can't read. I'm too far away from the laptop. Can you read?
Oh, he said he saw a small one spider crawl at Greg Yost's hotspot.
Oh yeah, Greg Host is a good one.
Now I got to look up Greg Yost.
Yeah, he's a good one to have on your show. Him and Sasquatch, I don't know what type of relationship they have, but
how old is he? Just off the top of your head.
Probably in his 50s or 60s. And he'll tell you exactly how to find them, what to do, what not to do, what gadgets to take, what not to take. I mean, he is very well knowledged.
Does he talk to him out loud?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
They love the baby boomers.
So
I think Bigfoot might like classic TV too. I mean,
who knows? I mean, but and speaking of that, Bobby Dizzle, I have received photographs that look like they came out of National Geographic magazine when it comes to Bigfoot. And unfortunately, I was not able to share them. And after 15, 20 minutes, they retracted the video or the pictures off Messenger. You know how you can unsend things and unsend from everyone? They just wanted to prove it to me, what they were capturing. It was magical, unbelievable, too good to be real. But they had a relationship with this clan or family for 20, 25 years, and they wanted to sell their land, but they were afraid who was going to move in. And I said, why don't you post that stuff?
Well, Grizzly, if I post that stuff online, I'll have people driving up and down my street, camping out back, and I sure the hell don't want any hunters around when it's hunting season.
So
that scared the hell out of me, by the way.
Did it really?
I wasn't ready. I was like,
When you giggle, you almost had me giggle because you sound like a woman too.
dude, that scared me to death for like a half a second. I realized you're using a modulator.
Oh, I like to have fun. I do.
Oh yeah.
But it just makes you stop and think, this guy wants to sell so badly, but he just can't because he's afraid what's going to happen to him. And they gift each other. He feeds them, not on a regular basis.
Doesn't happen to be in a red Folgers can, does it?
No.
It's not our buddy DP.
No.
He's trying to sell too.
Is he?
There ain't no way in hell I would sell. I don't know how they have a job. I don't know how they have conversations that aren't Bigfoot related. I would be there 24/7. I would have to know.
I know. Isn't that wild?
I would have to be James Earl Jones from Field of Dreams. I would have to go in the field. I mean, there would be anything else I could do. I would be Richard Dreyfuss. There'd be nothing else. Life would be over.
I mean, they show him the babies they have. And he watches them grow up. And that's
Has
natural.
he said what they
to
did
him.
with the bodies?
Huh?
Has he said what they did with the bodies?
No. I've always been curious about that.
They're keeping that one close to the chest.
Yeah.
That's probably part of that interdimensional mess.
It could be. It could be. I have no idea. Only thing I can do is theorize from the evidence that have been presented to me by interviews. And I hate to say this, but also by third party, which is hearsay. You got to be careful with that information, how you take it. But, talking to a person and interviewing a person, you and I are pretty good reading people. We can tell if they're telling us the truth or not. It's not hard to do if you know how to do it. My daughters hated me all their lives because they never could hide something or pull something over the wool over my eyes. And that's also why I'm not married anymore. So, but, a lot of people are coming forward more and more every day with the same stories, but different encounters. I mean, what do you think about all that?
I think it's I don't think it's happening anymore. I think that because I grew up in the hills and hollers, I think it's happening a lot more than we think. And you've heard those stories your whole life, and the internet like we see it is only 15 years old, 20.
Right.
There was that bout in the mid 90s with chat rooms and everything, but like we can do it now, 15 years old max, as far as me and you being able to have this conversation from our back rooms with a cup of coffee on a weeknight and not have to fire up a transmitter.
Yeah, and that's the truth.
Yeah, but I think this has been going on for many generations and many hollers and hills and out especially in the Rockies and the Smokies and even Alabama, the swamps, the Everglades. I think it's just getting more and more people can share because we can reach out and message. Or we can just message anyone anywhere. People's been going on since the 70s. I think one of the guys I talked to last week was from 79. If I remember correctly, he's been having it happen. Like, how do you keep that a secret for 40 years?
Yeah, right.
How do you not have like a sideshow set up? But at the same time, they're very trust based. So if you tried it one time, it'd probably end it all right there.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's always the older, not always because they're old, but because they were able. That's the last generation to hang out like that in the woods, without the technology everywhere.
Two things on that I look at and I notice a trend on. The people that usually have the encounters that I interviewed, the land has been in the family for generations.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. That's one of them, like generations of land.
Yeah. And the 10-year-old would come back and say, Grandpa, you ain't gonna believe what I saw in the woods. And Grandpa would be like, I told you not to go there, to stay on this side of the woods. And they knew about it, and they put feed out, corn feed, by the barn for them. So they don't take their pigs and stuff like they used to. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. Generations. And I have a lot of people that testify that on interview, on live podcasts about that. But then you turn around and look at, like you said, technology. 120 years ago, we were in a horse and buggy. We didn't have all this stuff.
Hell, 100 years ago.
Yeah. We didn't have all this stuff. And then Eisenhower allegedly signed a treaty with the aliens in the hangar, which the granddaughter came forward and admitted it did happen. People that were there that are on their deathbeds are confessing to it happened. And if you stop and think from that time area, our technology started to evolve and change.
Yeah, about 45, it starts getting crazy.
Yeah, so where did that come from? Do we have help? Was that part of the treaty? We give something, they give something?
I believe there was two factors on that. I think maybe our friends on the Third Reich might have had help as well. And since their players went through the transfer portal and then played for us, I think we kind of inherited some there. And I think there was a lot to go on with, all the nuke testing. I think we kind of passed through that. We passed through that filter. And so the aliens started coming to us. Well, it was like a comedy of errors, if you will.
Hitler had so far technology from the world. It was amazing.
I think some of ours came from that. Maybe not all of it. We might have had another kind of a lead way, but we definitely inherited a lot from what Hitler discovered. Just raping the natural world.
When we had still props, people said Hitler had his own flying saucer, and people denounced that for years and said he did not. It never happened. Then below and hold, footage shows up of a mysterious UFO with Nazi symbols on it flying over a building that's 8 to 12 seconds long.
Wasn't it shaped like a bell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, where did that go? Who's got that?
Probably somewhere near Rachel, Nevada.
Yeah. I mean,
somewhere along the old extraterrestrial highway. Might be here on Redstone where I'm at. That's all I know. There's some crazy shit goes on out there.
But like I said, it's just so many rabbit holes you can go down and go through. And each hole is different. Each hole has more turns and twists and deeper that leads into other holes.
And they will scare you to death when you start reaching the bottom of it and it gets to be truth and stuff starts tying together. Yeah. You just want to turn all the lights on in the house.
Yes.
That's what happened to me during COVID. I had to lay off that stuff because everything got real in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It went from being fun to this is probably happening right now.
Yeah. COVID was a big scare. I thought, well, my medical condition, since I got hurt and everything, and I'm still kind of disabled, that I was a high risk. If I caught it, it scared the hell out of me. Plus, I thought it was going to be one of these things that stuck around for quite a while. I really did.
Would you live through it? I mean, did you have it? Everybody did.
No, I didn't have it, thank goodness. But not seeing people working, not seeing people out. Shopping hours were certain times. People were hoarding food, tissue paper. People were buying ammos and guns, stripping the shelves dry. I mean, it was just amazing. You know,
everything was to go.
Yeah.
All food was takeout.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing. Here's another one for you too, if you can read that one.
Oh, that's me.
Oh,
that was me just asking a question about Greg Ghost's contact info.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
I've got the video open in another window just to see the chat as well.
You know, that's amazing that you can't see that unless I put it up on the screen, because I thought you could see it and type and respond like I can.
If there's a panel and we're in StreamYard together, there's a chat, but I can't see the YouTube chat.
Oh, I got you.
It's two different things.
Yeah,
but I can see it when you put it up. So I'm just I like to watch it to see how they come up.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. I mean, what's your take about Dogman? All these recent sightings and reports.
I think all those cryptids are, either A, fake and just misidentification, or B, they're behind that portal and just popping in and out. I think there's so many more. I think there's so many more things out there that people are spotting, and they're just getting out there. They're getting out on social media more now.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think social media and everybody having access to something is playing a part. But the veil could be lifting for all I know. We just found out UFOs were a thing last year, so they may be coming through more.
Well, and that's butt dialed somebody. Sorry about that. But that's true, and I actually believe that. Like I said, I think people need to make their own judgments and their own theories. I don't think people should force their opinions or their theories on other people. And the reason why I say that is because all the encounters may be different, but they're actually the same. And it seems like there's 4 or 5 different brackets they can fall into the stories or their encounters. So that's what's really interesting. And hopefully in our lifetime that we know the truth. Will we? I have no idea.
I spoke to a medium / angel talker that believes that in about 3 generations, we're going to be back toward a more talking to the next dimension, as far as being more sensitive as a culture.
Oh, I believe it. I sure do. Ladies and gentlemen, BobbyDizzle.com. Please check him out. Give him some love. Unfortunately, it's that time of day again. Well, I must go to another live show. He's been awesome. And unfortunately, I got to have you back. We're not nearly done. So next couple of weeks, let's get together. And
next Tuesday, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And hit it some more and talk some more. I think we got a lot more to talk about. It's amazing what we are told that does not exist. They don't want to believe it exists, but it does. You know, even though you may not seen them, but you heard them, you seen their proof of them being around, of their actions. So I want to say thanks again, moderators and admins from all around the Facebook groups. Let me share my live podcast in your group. Greatly appreciate that. If you want to be on my show, all you have to do is email me at Grizzly the Paranormal at gmail.com. Once again, that's Grizzly the Paranormal at gmail.com. From around the world, coast to coast, Mr. Bobby Dizzle. We hate to
appreciate
it, but it's time. I'll see you next week, sir. Take care.
Take it easy.
Take care, everybody. Have a good evening.